I'm Chef Ange. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to my kitchen. On today's episode, I want to show you a classic home cooking dish that really highlights how amazing vegetables and pantry ingredients can be. This is ratatouille. Ratatouille is all vegetables and tons of love, and love is the secret ingredient to all good home cooking. This video is sponsored by Minced. You'll need a sharp and quality knife for all the slicing and dicing in this recipe. And the Minced Chef knife is a quality knife for this recipe and all of your home cooking needs. But before we get into this recipe, check the description box below for the full ingredient list and directions. And while you're down there, don't forget to preheat the subscribe button and the notification bell so you can find out when I drop new recipe and tip videos every week. Let's get cooking. If you're in the market for a quality knife, this is a knife I give a high recommendation to. You can use code CHEFANGE to check out. You get 20% off your order and free shipping on orders over $75 with the promo code. Ratatouille is a classic home cooking dish from France, and what I think connects all home dishes is the amount of love that goes into them. And what I mean by love in cooking terms is time, attention to detail, and doing things that are repetitive, like slicing all these vegetables, because I'm going through that Roma tomato, now the eggplant, and now a zucchini, and I'm trying to keep everything as uniform as I can. And I'm slicing these vegetables at all about the same thickness because I want them to look the same, but I also want them to all cook at about the same rate. They are different vegetables and they're going to cook to a different consistency and texture, but if they're sliced all the same, all of the zucchini, all of the eggplant, all the tomatoes are going to cook to the same texture. And now let's make a mirepoix for the bottom of the sauce, because ratatouille really is all of those sliced vegetables baked on top of a sauce that we're going to make inside of a pan. So in there's also going to go a lot of vegetables, but instead of slicing them, we're going to dice a lot of them. And we're going to dice up some celery, some carrots. Here I'm slicing a red bell pepper, and I'm also going to slice up an onion, and we're all going to chop those pretty finely. So without a sharp knife, all of this knife work in this recipe is going to be absolutely difficult, but with a sharp knife, it's a breeze, and especially it's a great recipe to practice different cutting techniques and different knife work. We're also going to chop up a big pile of herbs. Here I got some parsley with some rosemary, some sage, and some thyme, and I'm just using my rocker chopper motion to get that all really nice and fine. And we're going to do the same thing with about 8 to 10 cloves of garlic. Wouldn't be a Chef Ange recipe without a pile of garlic, and here that pile is. So now in the bowl, I got some herbs and some garlic, and I'm going to season with some salt and some pepper. And now I'm going to put a bunch of olive oil in there. I'm going to make this like herb and garlic paste that we're going to put on top of the ratatouille. So now before we make our sauce on the stove and we assemble the ratatouille, let's season the sliced vegetables. So I'm going to put some olive oil on top of these vegetables in this large hotel pan. And this is just making the cooking really easy. And now I'm going to sprinkle on my base seasoning, which is a blended garlic powder, onion powder, salt, and pepper. I'll throw a link to the recipe video in the description box. And I'm also going to put some fresh dried oregano on there, straight out of my mom's stash out of the garden. Thanks, Mom. Now I'm just going to give these just a light mix by hand just to make sure that they're all coated a little bit. And now let's head over to the stove and make our sauce. So first we're going to soften those onions. Then we're going to throw in the carrots and the celery, mix those around and let those soften up a little bit. Then we're also going to add that red bell pepper and let that soften. And once they all start to soften a little bit and start to release their moisture, we're going to put in a little tomato paste and a little bouillon paste. And this is the roasted garlic flavor from Better Than Bouillon. I love that stuff. It feels like I'm cheating every time I use it. And now we're going to mix those pastes together so it incorporates with the moisture. And I'm going to put some dried herbs. Here I have some Italian seasoning. If I wanted to be French with it, I'd probably do a herb de Provence, but I had Italian seasoning, so that's what I used. And I also put a little white wine vinegar for some acidity. And now that's really going to join all the flavors of those, the tomato paste, the bouillon paste, the flavors that are coming out of the mirepoix. And now we're going to put a can of crushed tomatoes in there. And now I'm just going to mix this all together and let this reduce by just a little bit. And I have this over a low heat in this cast iron pan. We're going to season this sauce up with a little bit more of my base seasoning. Stuff, you can use it everywhere. And after mixing that in there, we're going to see if the seasoning's right on here. So I'm going to give this a little taste test. And it looked like it was just missing just a little bit of salt and some pepper. So I'm going to go in and just add just a pinch or two of salt and some fresh ground black pepper to make sure that taste gets to where I want it to. And while that's happening, this is reducing, and now this sauce is good to go. So I'm going to shut the heat off, and we're going to bring this over to our table for assembly. So now 4 at a time, I'm going to line up a tomato, an eggplant, a squash, and a zucchini, and I'm layering them in there 4 at a time. So I'm keeping the same pattern, and I'm just laying them on top. When you get to the middle, you do your best to figure out whatever shape you got left, and I just went right across the middle. And again, this looks really complicated, but it was pretty easy. Now we're going to go back to that garlic and herb mixture, and I'm just going to take a spoon and sprinkle that over the top. So now this is going to go in a 375-degree preheated oven for about 30 minutes. After about 30 minutes, I'm going to pull it out of the oven. We're going to take the aluminum foil off and uncover it. We're going to spray it with a little bit of olive oil just to get a nice oil coating on top so this starts to pick up some color. It's going to go back in the oven for about 20 minutes. Then I'm going to sprinkle it with a breadcrumb mixture, and this was just left over from my baked cod recipe. I'll throw a link right above for that one if you want to check that recipe out. But this is just breadcrumbs with some parsley and some Parmesan cheese. I thought it would be a nice touch, and I always like to get stuff out of the fridge. So we're going to sprinkle that on top, and then I'm going to throw on this basil leaf. I put the basil leaf on because I was trying to get a cute, nice picture to take the thumbnail, but I didn't like the way it looked, so I just took it off, and this dish looks amazing with or without that garnish. The smell coming off of this dish is absolutely unbelievable. I can't wait to try this. It did take a little bit of labor. I mean, this dish screams home cooking. It smells like somebody's grandma came over. And now look how pretty this is. I'm gonna try to get a little bit in this bite, and also without burning my mouth, but I want to get a little bit of each vegetable plus a little bit of that sauce on the bottom. And you can see cooking in a cast iron, even if they're sitting out for a little bit, it would still be super duper warm. Really try not to burn my mouth on this. Wow. That's so good. That is really, really, really good. And now I understand why Ratatouille is up there with one of the finest and most well-known home cooking dishes. And this is a French home cooking dish. This is so good. Holy cow. This doesn't even need a protein. This all by itself is so tasty and so flavorful, and it has so many layers of flavor. Even after I ate that, it just keeps going on and on and on. Oh man, wow. Well, I'm Chef Ange. This is my Ratatouille. I hope you like this video. Please make this recipe and let me know in the comments section how it comes out. If you did like this video, hit that like button, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Thanks, and I'll see you on the next one.